Hey there friends and family, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be smoking up a brisket up at 7,000 feet and we're going to talk about the nuances of grilling up at altitude. Let's get to it.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that awesome?
Oh my goodness. This is gorgeous.
Welcome back everybody. So the brisket is on the smoker. I put it on at about 5:30 this morning. Temperature is 10 degrees outside, so it took a little bit longer this morning for the smoker to go ahead and warm up. But let's talk about altitude. So where I live at 7,000 feet here in Colorado. And things act a little bit differently when you're cooking up at altitude. Then things tend to take a little bit longer to cook, as well as it's easy to overcook certain items such as meat while you're on the grill. All right, so let's just get a little bit sciencey here. Water boils at 212 degrees at sea level. We're at 7,000 feet. So the general rule of thumb, and it's not quite exact, we could get real technical here, but I'm not. For every 1,000 feet in elevation you gain, it's 2 degrees lower from 212 degrees. We're at 7,000 feet. What is that times 2? 14, 198. But when you really actually do the math, it's 198.7 is where water boils here at 7,000 feet. There's a few other factors such as pressure systems that affect your pressure altitude. Not going to go into that unless you're a pilot or into aeronautics, you know what I'm talking about. So we're just going to go with the general rule of thumb of every 1,000 feet in elevation you gain is 2 degrees lower from 212 degrees at sea level. So why is it important to know why things cook different at altitude? As I stated earlier, it's easier to overcook things. So when you're grilling, when you're cooking, you're smoking, things tend to take a bit longer at altitude. And at about 7,000 feet, it takes around 20 to 30% longer than it would if you were doing the same piece of meat down at sea level. So I expect when I pull my brisket off here in about 14, 15 hours, it will be in about the 199 range when I probe it. Of course, I'm not cooking to temperature, I'm cooking to feel. I'm cooking to see how tender. You should be able to just put it in and it's almost, put in your probe and it almost feels like butter. But we're going to check that out later this afternoon. Now I will tell you, I made a mistake several years ago where I did cook a brisket up to temperature. And online they're saying you're going to pull it at 203-ish to 205, something like that. And it was one of my first briskets I did up here at altitude, as well as I've done them at sea level before, and I went ahead and cooked it to temperature, wasn't following the general rule of thumb. Well, guess what? That was the driest brisket I'd ever had. It was bad. So I've learned since then, don't cook to temperature, cook to feel, and it just coincides with the altitude that we're at. I'm pulling off a brisket at about 198 to 199 here when I check the temperature. Additionally, the other thing you want to do when smoking at altitude is add a water pan. That'll help add a bit more moisture to your brisket or whatever meat that you're cooking, because water evaporates quite quickly up here. Hence the reason why you want to go low and slow. People that cook briskets hot and fast, it can be done. I've heard of people doing it here in Colorado. I haven't tested that out just to see if I'm cooking at 300, 310 on a fast brisket to see what the texture and how tender the brisket is. I haven't done that. I'm a slow and low kind of guy. Today I decided to go at 250 on my cook just because of the way the weather is. Generally I'm around 225, but I don't feel like waiting 20 hours on this cook. So we're going to see how that works. Other things people do here at altitude is inject your brisket to add a bit more moisture into the brisket itself. So I don't inject my briskets myself. I enjoy just seasoning it, putting it on the smoker, and enjoying the cook the entire day. That's what I'd like to do. Other things, some people put binders on there today. I did a mustard binder. I typically don't do that. I like just a dry rub on my brisket and any of my meats. And it really depends on what part of the country you're from, how you're brought up, how you did barbecue. That's all up to you. You're the chef, and whatever you do is perfect. I always say that on this channel. So with that said, I'm going to enjoy this smoke all day long. I'll give you updates throughout the day, and we'll check on things on how it works. My plan with the brisket is once it hits that stall around the 165-ish mark, we're going to let it push through that stall, and approximately 170, 175 degrees, that's where I'm going to go ahead and wrap it in butcher paper. So anyways, I'll be back with you later with further updates. Okay, so it's been 2 hours that the brisket and the point's been on the smoker. Let's take a look. Nothing going to waste. You can see we got beef tallow going here. There's our regular brisket and there's our point. Let's do some spritzing. Okay, so it's 12 o'clock. We've been on the grill here for almost 6 hours. Let's take a look. It's looking good. Getting close to wrap. Okay, so it has passed the stall. I brought it in, about ready to wrap it up in some butcher paper and finish the cook-off. Okay, so the brisket has passed the stall. This thing is really powering through the cook, which isn't bad. It's about 6.5, 7 hours right now. I've already wrapped it up. Let's take a look at it. There we go. And there she'll be until she finishes. I've been quite happy with the cook. Like I said, it's about 6.5, 7 hours already on this cook. Pressed through the stall really fast. I've had some of the briskets stall out for several hours, which I know several of you brisket people have done the same thing and had the same experience. So pretty happy with the cook, and we will catch you once the cook is done. Welcome back, everybody. It was a nice long cook on that brisket yesterday, probably about 12 hours. This thing is quite thin, plus it trimmed down about 3 or 4 pounds on it. Kind of knew the cook was going to go like that, as well as I cooked at 250. Normally I do about 225. Let's kind of recap on altitude. Altitude generally takes 20-30% longer when you're doing a nice slow and low cook. I used water pan, no injections. This thing turned out, I mean, look at that. You see how jiggly that is right there? This looks really nice. With that said, we're going to break bread with our friends here later this afternoon. In fact, they're supposed to be here in about next 30 minutes. We're going to enjoy some wonderful brisket. Looking forward to it. We'll do some video of when we cut this all up and maybe get some testimonies from our friends of how good it tastes. We really enjoy everybody who watches our videos. So if you would do us a favor, like, subscribe, and share this channel because we're trying to make it grow, and we really appreciate you. Love to all our friends and family. Peace. Where's my bird?
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that awesome?
Oh my goodness. This is gorgeous.